Identify and book the world's best speakers for your next event. MENA Speakers is the leading speakers and MC bureau in the Middle East. We bring global talent to the region and have established the region as a key global hub for speakers. Inspire and motivate your audience. Find exactly what you are looking for by working closely with us to assist you in understanding the cost-benefit analysis tied to selecting a speaker for any event. Ensure that your audience is educated, engaged, and empowered. Connect with us for a quick response and tailored advice. Book your speakers now.
Do you have an all-star HR team? You may feel your team is already performing at a high level, but let's take a closer look. Would your company's top leaders and employees agree that your HR team are operating at a high level? Are team members able to influence top executives on difficult topics? Are team members business and strategy focused on the challenges the organization is facing? Does the executive team trust your direct reports as advisors on human capital issues? If you can answer yes to these questions, you have built an outstanding team. If you feel there is room for improvement, Strategy Focused Group can create a custom development program to elevate the quality of your HR team. We use HCI certification programs as well as non-certified HRBP MBA Masterclass to give your team a laser focus on the business and strategy. Please email us at info@strategyfocusedgroup.com.
Good morning, good evening, depending upon what part of the world you're in. If it's Friday, you know it's the CEO series. Our guest today is Howell Mabalot, who's the president and chief trainer of HVM Training Services, which provides continuing technical development programs for leaders across the globe. He is a fellow at the Royal Institute of Management in Singapore. He's certified with the Professional Regulations Commission, accredited author, speaker on professional development, again, across the globe, and is a member of the Philippines Institute of Certified Public Accountants. He's a TV host of a business talk show called The Business Portal on the corporate world. And with that, I'm honored to call him my friend and colleague, Howell. How are you doing, man?
Wow, good afternoon, Sir Ron, from that part of the globe. I am so happy to see you again after more than 2 years. It's a pleasure to be invited by you. Like what I mentioned before we went on air, I was rewatching our interview in April 2020, April 2020, and I was once again blessed by your words of wisdom. Your stories have strengthened me, re-inspired me, and reinvigorated me. So thank you so much, Sir Ron Thomas, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in person finally someday soon.
Yeah. You know, with everything coming down somewhat, travel is opening up, so maybe sometime soon I'll be back in the Philippines. Well, you know what? I've always had an interesting career. You know, I've always followed you online. You're very heavy in social. Walk us through your career and starting out from where you started from to the pinnacle you are today.
Wow. Well, Sir Ron, you know what? I remember as a kid, I was really a talkative child and always got into trouble for talking too much in the classroom. And but then I have an advisor. I had an advisor who told me that I could use it for good. So they groomed me to be a representative of the school for the declamation contest or rhetorical contest. And so I developed my passion for public speaking. So moving to college, I was a working student, and I learned the value of work. And so I was a service crew of Jollibee way back in 1992, and I believe there's Jollibee there in Dubai, right? And then I learned about work ethics. And so when I finally got my job after taking up computer engineering, my first job was with marketing and sales, and I loved talking to people. And because of that, I got pirated by an by a telecoms company owned by British Telecoms. Back then, it was Eastern Telecoms. At a very young age of 24, I became an account manager. And eventually, because I kept on hopping from one company to another, the last 2 jobs I held in the corporate world was I became the vice president of an IT company. and the last job was a director for training and performance improvement. And because of that, the pressure was too high, too heavy for me. And so I decided to prioritize my health over my career. So I quit the rat race in 2011, sir. And then fortunately, I met folks from Arriva Academy, and I said, yes, I might want to give it a chance to be a public speaker, to be a trainer. And I never looked back since then. So I established my training company, and well, fast forward 11 years after, here I am, blessed to have met you and some other global leaders, and been entrusted to train the people of world-class companies and global companies present in the Philippines as well. So that was it, Sir Ron.
Yeah. So the interesting part that you mentioned there was, you chose your health over your career.
I did.
Part and how you made that decision.
So in 2011, I was waking up at 2 a.m. feeling like a knife was being thrusted on my heart. I was breathing shallowly, and I felt my skin crawling, and I thought that I would die tonight. I had those several moments. That's why in 2011, I bought myself a funeral plan, because I thought I would die in 2011. I really thought of that. You know what? Just 2 nights ago, I was decluttering my cabinet, and I saw that ID of a funeral plan, being a funeral plan holder, issued in 2011, because I really thought I was about to die in that year. And so I realized back then that health is the most important thing next to life. Therefore, I said, okay, too much or enough of these heavy burdens of, being part of the top management, being a director for training and performance improvement. You're being pressured left and right, top and bottom, from top management to people under you, and to between colleagues fighting, and the high demand of the company from a training and performance improvement director would be to work 24/7, 7 days a week. And I said, no, I'd rather live longer than die with a lot of money in the bank at the age of 30 plus or 40 something.
Wow, that was a great revelation too, and the way that you handle that, because a lot of people would have stayed on that treadmill, and eventually they would have used that plan, and that would have been the end of it.
I really thought that, because I was afraid for my children. I would want to unburden them. I don't want to burden them with those funeral expenses. I still never, that time, I didn't have enough for the college plan for my 2 kids. But thankfully, I still am alive. Fast forward to 2022, healthier than ever. And I lost 30 pounds over time. And my blood sugar, my blood pressure is back to normal. And I never regretted leaving the rat race in favor of doing what I love doing, what we both love doing, sir, and that's people training and development.
Yeah, so we both basically do the same things, and I follow your workout when you do your walks and whatnot. And it inspires me sometimes, because sometimes I'm sitting around and say, you know what, how was it? Let me go outside and do something myself. Yeah,
and you inspire me as well. Whenever I see early in the morning in Dubai, well, a bit later in the late in the morning here, I would see your Facebook updates, waking up very early in the morning, meeting the sunrise with a smile after walking 8 miles. Wow, that is amazing. Yeah.
But as I mentioned to you earlier, that's a mental value for that. So the exercise is cool, but I can think better early in the morning when it's dark out and the sun is coming out. So everybody has to figure out their own way of dealing with what we talk about as stress. And for me, that works. That works for me, in doing that. So how would you coach? Because you're dealing with a lot of senior leaders, and I'm sure a lot of the leaders that you're dealing with are probably on the same treadmill. And I'm sure you do a lot of executive coaching.
I am. Yes.
Do you share that story with them? And what is some success stories or feedback that you've gotten from them?
Yes, sir. So one of my most in-demand topics in the past 2 years was leadership with resiliency and agility. So I conducted the workshop for the division chiefs of one of the government agencies, and their wish list would be to retire. Unfortunately, the retirement plan is not yet at hand, not yet approved by top management, and so they had this half-hearted attitude when they come to work. And so I told them, if you can afford to stay for the next 3 more years, while at the same time changing your belief and the way you see your job, because in the Philippines, 25 million Filipinos still, as of this moment, are still going hungry. Why? Because their breadwinner is either underemployed or unemployed. So I would tell them, if you look at your job as a burden, you will hate going to work every day. But if you look at it as a blessing, because a lot of Filipinos have lost their jobs, and yet here you are, you're still a division chief, you're still a unit manager, you're still a salary grade 26, 27, which means they're earning a six-figure salary on a monthly basis. So by changing the way they see their work in the workplace, they could either decide, okay, I'll stay some more, 3 more years, and invest everything in what I do, and give the company a good time, so that when I finally would be retiring, I will be retiring with grace and dignity.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
to those who would be deciding to leave, and they can afford to leave without the retirement package, so I would tell them to pursue their passion. And you know what? Some of them, their passion was crocheting. Some of them, their passion was farming, buying a small nipa hut, and then raising goats and maybe some ducks and hens. And so you will be astounded by what would make a 50-year-old professional happy. Not the bank account, not anymore the title, but it's the inner peace, the simplicity of life.
Inner peace. So that's kind of sinks back into a lot of organizations today. They're trying to find that purpose, the purpose of a person's career in working. We for the common good. And that's a lot of struggles today in organizations trying to figure that out. So what you're saying is that a lot of the leaders are going through the same thing and trying to figure it out.
They still are. In fact, 4 decades into their career, they still are figuring out what they want to do with their lives.
Yeah.
So amazing.
So 30 years ago, you didn't have any of these thoughts? I mean, 30 years you've been struggling with that?
See, you know what? I don't know if it's I don't know if it's the midlife crisis that they're experiencing, or they just are burned out. But I remember when I was younger, I really thought of making an impact. I really thought of pursuing a career in public speaking, in doing the thing that I truly love. And I also hope that these middle-aged people in the workplace now who are top management in their top management position would still find purpose even after they have finished their tenure in their jobs.
Yeah, it's a struggle, in trying to find a perfect kind of match because people are struggling with careers, they're struggling with all the other issues in trying to do that. So for organizations, what can an organization offer? So the organization that brought you in to deal with this level of people, I think they were onto something, because if they figured that out, that group figures it out, that's higher productivity, it comes back to the business. So they were really investing in the people's careers, which was going to return back to them in some way. Is that the way that organizations should look at it today? Because if we feel that so many people are struggling with jobs and trying to figure out next, should organizations offer more of this kind of development for leaders?
I agree, sir, because way back in early 2000, the only focus was to build the skills in business expertise and acumen, technical expertise, and information technology savvy. But nowadays, we see that even during the pandemic, all the more that companies realize that the soft skills, the ethics, the leadership, the social relation skills are equally important, if not more important, than the technical skills that these leaders possess. Therefore, they are on the right track right now, that they invest more on training the leader to be better communicators, to be respectful leaders, to be more compassionate, to be more kind-hearted, and to be empathetic. And to understand what their people are going through. I always tell them that a happy employee is a productive employee. Therefore, if the bosses are happy, then the people under them will be happy. And if the people under them are happy, then they will work with passion, work from their hearts. They wouldn't mind doing overtime only because staying in the company and being taken care of a leader who is compassionate, humane, respectful, loving, and kind-hearted inspire them all the more to stay. It would make them feel like dwelling in that particular business or in that particular workplace longer than they should. So they're on the right track.
Yeah. Well, you know, I always use the analogy that if I'm managing a team of accountants, if I'm an accountant in a group of 9, the leader leaves and they put me in the position of leading that team. My subject matter expertise is in accounting. But when I come back around on Monday and I'm the leader of that team, that's a different skill set from what I was doing the prior week. And I think sometimes organizations, they take it for chance that, well, they'll figure it out. Well, you know what? There is no figuring out because people are stressed out and you really need, as you said, bring the soft skills with the technical skills. You pair those together and it works.
I agree. And you know what? We have good intentions in promoting people who are excellent individual contributors. Yeah. But without us knowing it, without the leadership, without the top management realizing it, they would be setting these potential leaders to fail if they wouldn't prepare them beforehand, and they wouldn't giving them not only the competence but the confidence and the character to lead their people well. Therefore, an excellent individual contributor would be frustrated once given that position to lead because he or she would be rendered ineffective. It will damage his self-esteem or her self-esteem, and because of frustration, they would lash out at their people, and the people will hate them back, and they will create a culture of chaos. So I couldn't agree more with you, sir, that yes, technical skills are very important, but the soft skills, the leadership skills, the communication skills, the social relation skills, they are equally important, and they have to be brought out within every potential leader in any workplace.
Yeah. You know, as you said that, I thought about Richard Branson, and Richard Branson said, take care of the people. If you take care of your people, they will in turn take care of the customers. So it's kind of like it just flows downward. You take care of them, they're going to take care of them. And then all the KPIs of the business, it'll all fall into place. But you have to. The most important part of that equation is you have to take care of your people.
I agree with you, sir. We have to take care of our people because they will take care of the bottom line. In fact, there are hospitals that we have been training under Riva Academy. Some of the decision makers would say, why is your training fee too high and too expensive? And we told them that, well, the training fee may be expensive, but what's more expensive is when you lose your clients, your patients, and you got sued for malpractice, and because your people are rude, because your frontliners are untrained. So yes, training may be expensive, but you know what? Tragic things may happen when people, and disastrous things will happen if the people are not trained in the areas of customer service, extending your kindness, being more compassionate, being more tolerant and accepting, and not bearing grudge when patients lash out at them. Why? Because deep in their heart, they were trained to look deeper into the pains and sufferings of their patient. Yeah. And it will spell a difference, and they will see it in the bottom line. The financial statement will reflect how green they are and how worth it the training investment would be if they'd say yes to the training contract.
So the key word you just mentioned is it's an investment. It's not an expense.
It's not an expense. It's an investment. Yes, sir.
Minded will say, "Oh my God, this fee is too high." No. You're investing, and the return on that will be more than enough to cover what we're talking about here.
Yes, and investing is investing in people.
Yes,
not only in machines and in future tech would be one of the best decisions of the top management. Investing in people.
You mentioned the hospitals. A friend of mine was a CEO for a hospital here in Dubai when I first moved here, and got to meet him, and we were going to do some leadership development. And one of the things he told me in that conference, we can sit outside and see the cars pulling up, and there was a gentleman who was parking the cars, would go out and help the people out. And he says, I want to take care of those people. He said, because if I take care of those people, they're going to in turn take care of the customers. And I noticed the way this gentleman helped the lady out of the car. Then I realized she was pregnant and she had another child in the back of the car seat. He helped all of them out, then gave her the ticket, then got in the car and drove off. And he said, I want to make sure I take care of him. And when I thought of that, I said, that person's probably the lowest point on the org chart. Or be a third-party contractor, but he wants to take care of it because it flows back to the customer. And that's exactly what we're talking about.
That is so true. They should see a broader perspective as how their individual contribution can either gravely affect or contribute to the creation of a culture of service excellence. So we have to create in them. So they're not just mechanical workers punching in and out and working from 8 to 5. No, they are there because they're purposeful. They are there. And well, it's good to be paid for doing what you love doing, but it feels even better when you know that you're helping people who are hurting. You're helping people who are going through something. You're helping people out who are suffering.
Yeah. So based on what we're both kind of talking about is that when you talk about culture and purpose, that starts up here. That's not an HR function. I mean, but if you're if you're sending the right messages from here, it will translate down.
And I always say that we are all culture builders. I always say that what we allow will prosper. I always say this, what we allow will prosper. And that's how we create cultures. And in creating cultures, there are those who are contributors, the people at the lowest level of the leadership ladder and the organizational ladder. They are the contributors because they either would come in late or come in early, would frown at the customer or would smile at the customer. But what's more powerful is the position where they are the creators. So the people, the rank and file people are the contributors, but the creators really are the leaders who allow either mediocrity or nothing less than excellence, who allow mechanical work or nothing less than compassionate delivery of their service. And that's why we all the more need to invest in leaders so that they will be more human, they will be humane, and they will never treat their people as tools or a means to get to hit the target and be given a raise or maybe another promotion. So people under them would appreciate how they care for them. And we have the saying that people don't care how much they know until they know how much you care. So leaders, start caring for your people.
Yeah. So all these your leaders that's listening to this today and will be listening later when it goes to replay, you have to realize that you're in charge of it. And anytime you spend money to invest in, it's investing in people. It's the same as you invest in anything else, and you're looking for a return on that. That's always a great return in getting that.
Always a great return. It's a guarantee. But what's more important than the training itself is the sustainability of the training. So we will leave them with a framework as to how to keep the fire burning, how to keep in touch with the customer. So we would give them customer survey forms, which will be accomplished by either the patients or the family members or the CPAs or their clients, so that every now and then we get to monitor and measure how sustainable our culture is, our service level is. And sustainability is key. Consistency is key. Therefore, yes, after doing our job, we still will be doing some consultancy, and the rest will be up to the leaders, the implementers, and of course, Sir Juan Thomas, the HR professionals.
Yeah. So when we talk about this, the HR professionals, we talk about the leaders in an organization. Sometimes there's conflict between the two because one is seeing one way and the other is seeing a different way. So one of the key points that you mentioned that I wanted to follow up on, you said we could give it to them, but sustainability. So everybody's hyped up because they had a week that they're engaged, and all of a sudden they get back on Monday morning, and then work happens. This is putting out a fire here. How do you counsel leaders to sustain the empowerment that you gave them over that 3-4 days or however it's structured? How do we maintain it?
So we would want to manage their expectations. We tell leaders that they will relapse. People will go back to their old habits unless you come back to pat them in the back and say, Francis, can we talk in my office? There's this survey from the customer who just walked out and said that you were rude when you were working with the nurse in the official in the operating room, and you said foul words that offended this person from a certain province using a different dialect. So I'd like to know the reason why. So we tell our leaders to not judge their people, but to be brave enough. Yet you may be truthful, but you should also be respectful. So I will always tell them when talking to your people, the hot stove rule. Tell them right away what happened. But when you do that, do it in a closed door meeting. Do it respectfully. Do it gently, and tell them your intention. Your intention is not to reprimand them per se. Your reprimand was because the intention that's deeper than the reprimand is we want to correct you. We want to realign you because you are the next best candidate for promotion in this department. So when training and coaching becomes part of a culture, then everything can be sustainable. So we always remind the leaders, yes, to manage your expectations, they will fall off the bandwagon. They will be sidetracked. Yes, they will be demotivated, especially when they have issues, family issues, or they're going through mental and emotional situations that put them in a place that they couldn't think more, they are not driven anymore. Your goal is not to be a judge, your goal is to be a guide. You're not a judge, you're a guide. So hold their proverbial hand, and they may be in a rough spot, hold their hand and show them the way. I always tell that a leader should have 3 C's. Offer them the clock, which is your time. Offer them the compass, which is the direction, because most of the people are now in chaos. They're panicking. They are clueless as to what to do. They're overwhelmed with tons of work in front of them in the pipeline. And so by giving them the compass, they have a direction. What should we prioritize now? What can we do and forego for later? And what can we totally be deleting or what can we delegate? And not only that, the 3rd C would be care. The 3rd C is care. Give your heart. As a leader, you can't afford to just be capitalizing on your authority. I am your boss. Do your job or you will lose your job.
The directive.
It's not time to do that. So give them your clock. Give time to counsel. Give them the compass. Give them the direction they need. And give them the care. Your heart that beats for them. And by doing that, well, it doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be an hour long of coaching. It could be informal. You know what? A pat in the back, a wink, and a thumbs up is enough to give them a recharging opportunity to believe in themselves and to regain their posture of passion and excellence.
Yeah, that reset is important. So let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back and pick up on this.
That's good, sir. Thank you, Sir Ron.
Okay, just hold on for a second.
At Strategy Focused Group, we not only upskill, we inspire, enable, educate, discuss, innovate. Motivate. Challenge. Let us help you elevate your team. Email us at info@strategyfocusedgroup.com.
Wow, elevate your team. I like that, sir.
What's that? Thank you so much for that. Yeah, thank you. We've talked about leaders and getting them straight, and so let's go inside of an organization because a lot of young people or people inside of the workforce are struggling. What advice would you give someone that's just starting out, that's interested in managing their career? So the reason I asked that question because you said people that have been in a role for 20 years and still haven't figured it out. And the impact of that could be on that team that they're managing. What advice would you give young people starting out in their careers as it relates to something as simple as just managing your career or where you want to go?
I would always tell especially the millennials and zennials. The zennials are in the workforce now.
Yeah.
They are now in the corporate world. I conducted the workshop last Saturday for the CPAs, and you know what? The attendees were from 24-year-old zennials to 78-year-old silent generation. I'm not kidding, because in the Philippines, whether you are in the public practice, having your own firm, or you are an employee of the government, or you are into the academe, which is in the education, or if you're an employee of the commerce and industry, which is the business sector, you have to earn 120 units every 3 years, or that means 120 hours of continuing professional development every 3 years for you to renew your license as a CPA. So, and when I talk to the silent generation participants, they would say that they just stay and embrace and hustle and work and then retire. But the young ones now, we have in the Philippines a saying, it's a meme that says, "Uwian na, hindi na masaya." Let's just go home. It's no longer fun.
Yeah.
And so I told them, when your mantra in life is to always go home and to quit when you're not having any more fun, and if your only reason for living is fun, you will be bored. You will be hopping from one place to another. So I will. So if there's something a piece of advice, or let's just say 3 golden nuggets of wisdom I would tell the millennials, and especially the seniors, is that understand that the first 5 years is all about warming up in the corporate world, and whether it's an academe or a government agency. It's not the time to save money. So the first 5 years would be the time to grow and to assimilate yourself. And then eventually, if you're still not figuring out what to do, you can try new things. Maybe if you're not having fun in marketing, try it in sales, try it and ask for a lateral transfer. Don't easily and immediately quit. Because now we believe that the young ones are quiet quitting. They have this, or what we call engagement way back in early 2000, disengagement early back. And then, so I told them that, yes, grow yourself first. Harness, I call it harness, value, maximize. Harness what it is that you are passionate about. And then second would be the framework, V, value. Add value to it. And how do you add value to it? By improving your competence, confidence, communication skills, character, connection skills, ability to collaborate, and the ability to commit. And once they're able to add value to their gifts and talents and geniuses, then look for the letter M, which is maximize. What impact will you leave on earth? And we see them light up, and they say, yes, I'm passionate about accounting, and yes, I will add value to it by attending more seminars, and yes, I will maximize my impact by not only working for a private entity, I will work for the government to make sure that the government is less corrupt, that there's integrity and honesty. And you will see them light up. Harness what gems you have inside, add value to your talents, skills, and geniuses, and maximize your impact. Young kids, if you figure it out as early as 24, you will be going leaps and bounds even before you turn 30.
Yeah, I like the 5 year. 5 years, kind of get settled, take a look at the landscape, try and figure out what it is. Don't put pressure on yourself. take in as much as you can, and then later you get in the stage and say, now I want to explore things. I love that concept.
Thank you, sir. Because a lot of kids now are in a hurry to get rich, to travel
Yeah,
the world, to make an impact, to be a TikToker or to be a YouTuber.
yeah,
And the pressure is unreal.
yeah,
But by helping them manage their expectations and making them fully understand what real life is, and then they can navigate through the uncertainties of life and never give up easily and stay even if it's not fun anymore.
yeah. And yet, so when you look at situations like that, the young people you have, they may have a grounding at home, or they may have parents are professionals, but in a lot of cases, you may be the first one that went away to college, and you're kind of figuring out on your own because you don't have that reference point inside. So that's a challenge in a lot of cases. So I say that to say, because I wanted to ask you a question. What was the most important influence that shaped your thought process as it relates to people, as it relates to leadership? Was there key people? There's always key people in your life, but give us some background as to what shaped you.
I grew up in a humble family of five siblings,
Okay.
and my parents were high school graduate. They were hardworking, and while we were growing up, they started purchasing lands for the intent of selling them eventually when we go to college.
Yeah, yeah,
So everything was carefully planned. My parents, I love them both. Nani and Tatay were so forward looking to seeing us march on stage with our college diploma.
oh
But
wow,
what we didn't see coming was my youngest brother being diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia at the age of 5. That was never a plan, and we never prepared for it.
yeah,
So for 5 years, we did our best to give him a good life, and my parents did everything to pay for a very expensive cycles of chemotherapy,
yeah,
etc., etc. Bottom line is that 5 year of suffering. Yes, we suffered, but then I always believe that life is our teacher, and as nobody deserves to bury their child or youngest brother, nobody deserves that. But while my youngest brother was alive from 5 to 10 and a half, he was constantly showing us love. And that was a waking, that was an aha moment, making me understand that life, what's more important than life is not material things,
yeah,
but it's about the moment you have with the people you love, making them feel that you love them unconditionally. And so my youngest brother was one of the most gentle soul. He was one of the gentlest soul on earth. That he was so sensitive. He whenever he would go to school, he would treat his classmates to lunch. He would bring some chocolates. We give him from Manila, and he would distribute it to his classmates. He was the most generous, most loving, most sensitive human human being I've met in my life, and he taught me the value of unconditional love. He taught us the value of groundedness. He taught us the value of family. He taught us the value of believing, having faith in God. And even if our prayers never got answered, our love will outlast our earthly
wow,
existence.
wow,
Therefore, that's one force to recon, one pivotal moment, one heavenly angel who came
mm,
into our lives to make us understand that hey, life is beyond your earthly existence,
yeah,
and and people may not remember what you said to them, but they will forever remember how you
wait,
treat them and how you made them feel. And
yeah,
Sir Juan, that moment made me who I am today. Today, a
yeah,
person who believes that every person deserves a chance.
yeah,
Every person is crying out for help. Every person is hungry for validation. And if all we could give is love,
yeah.
that would be enough.
Wow, that's deep. I mean, you can't really top that one. That is really, really deep. Because normally I run these questions, the question I just asked you, in leadership development, and I'll ask people who. And one of the things I found, the vast majority of time, the reference point is for some family member, a grandmother, or uncle, or someone who took time with them to have these kinds of conversations, listen to them, So my thought is, why couldn't we do the same thing from even inside of an organization to care for your people? Because what you're saying is that we could use that same model and care for one of our workmates who's struggling at that time, who may be going through a lot, may not have cancer or leukemia, whatever it is, but struggling with the home life situation.
That is so true, because yes, a lot of people get promoted for their individual contribution, and they thought that their position is their license to disrespect and hurt and abuse other people.
Yeah.
When the truth is that leadership role is a burden, that is a calling, and that is an opportunity for you to make a difference, a positive impact, so that you can bring out the best in the people. Instead of hurting them, heal them. Instead of discouraging them, encourage them. Instead of demeaning them, add value to them. Like what your company is about, elevate them. And always say, lift, raise, build. Every after a conversation, ask yourself, have I lifted his spirit or her spirit?
Yeah.
Have I raised her morale? Have I built her self-esteem? So whether it is a reprimand thing of a person who didn't do well in responding to a crisis or to a complaining customer, or talking to a mom who just gave birth, who went back to the office after a month, whether you are giving advice or giving your unsolicited advice to them, or giving them a certain point of view from where you're coming, ask yourself, no matter how shallow the conversation is, have I lifted her up?
Yeah.
Have I raised him up?
Wow.
Have I built them up?
Yeah, that's deep. That's really, really, really deep. Well, you know what? I want to thank you for being a guest on the show, and I know we were planning this for some time, and I'm honored to have you here, dropping all
The
those
pleasure is mine, sir.
to the audience. Hopefully, I'll see you sometime soon.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in person soon, Sir Ron.
I just got to get a client to hire me to come back again, so I'm working on that. But I'll let you know ahead of time. So thank you so much, and I'll be in touch offline.
Thank you so much, Sir Ron. Thank you so much, Sir Ade, and thank you so much, the CEO series, for having me. God bless everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye, everyone. Okay, cool.